I want to welcome everybody to the Bird Joy podcast. I'm Dexter Patterson.
And I'm Jason Hall. This is the pod for all the homies across the globe, spot where we can celebrate some birds together.
Are you ready for some bird joy? Let's go.
What's up, Dex? Good to see you, brother. How you doing?
Oh man, you got it. We are so excited. It's been a couple years since we've all seen each other, right? We were all on Little St. Simon's Island. Last week we talked to Christian, which is so wild that last week we talked to Christian. This week we're talking to Ike, and we were talking about some of those memories on Little St. Simon's Island. And all I can think about is us doing lifer dances together, Ike. Me, you and Jason with the yellow-throated warbler, and we're just there. Lifer dance, hey! Oh, man. You just kind of set the tone for us with that energy, and I just remember just being just so excited to meet you in real life, similar to Jason, where we all had been like IG homies for a while, you know, and to get on that island together and just to be able to see your bird joy in real life, Ike, was just truly inspiring, man. So I'm so excited to see you. Happy that we get a chance to catch up, but man, welcome to the Bird Joy podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I know it's been a long time coming. Just been reaching out and wanting me, and I saw some of your episodes, and I was just like, oh, I have to join. Like, I have to get my episode. And so I'm glad it's finally happening. And yeah, man, like our gathering we had at Little St. Simon's Island was just a dream come true. And like, it was, just so much joy, just dancing, singing, celebrating, bird watching with all of us black birders being joyful together and just spending time outside. That was like something I always envisioned. And that was just amazing highlight experience of just the whole bird watching journey. I'm sure that we're all on. That's what I see, like, ever since from the first day of like picking up binoculars, just like we've been on this journey, and it's been very fruitful and been very awesome. And I'm really glad to know you guys. So
likewise, homie.
Yeah. Likewise. So let's talk a little bit, Ike. You're doing some really, really cool things, not only in regards to how you're communicating about your joy of birds with your social media account. You are killing it on social media, by the way. Over 105,000 followers just on IG alone. So when we're thinking about this next generation of birders and environmentalists and naturalists, what inspired you? You know, you're at Cornell right now. It looks like you're chilling in like a dorm room or something, or you're off-campus housing right now. What inspired you to really think about trying to combine not only environmental studies, sustainability, science communication, and birding? Like, what inspired you to take that route for your education?
So where I am now, I just found like this very quiet office on campus because I have like a meeting. So just like I had to find a place in my schedule, and it worked out. Yeah. So what inspired me is, well, it's really interesting because when I first decided like what my major was going to be enrolling into Cornell, I didn't want to be in environment and sustainability. Actually, it was because I was thinking like I didn't really know like a lot about it. I was like, I just want to study birds. Like, I want to go to Cornell and study birds. Is there
as one does? Understandable.
Yes, exactly. I was like, is there like a ornithology or like even something zoology major? Because I really just wanted to focus on the study of that. And it was like a biology. You can be a biology major, and with biology, it's more like cells and working with diseases and like other it's not what I really thought. And it also required taking more difficult courses like like calculus, different math courses, chemistry, genetics, and like all these. And then even my mom, who was also like present during this time, was just like, I don't know if you want to do like, biological sciences, because that's more like, I feel like better fit is environment and sustainability. And so when I was like looking and reading into it, I was thinking, okay, I think, I learned more about it. I like the environment, and it turns out that was a great decision because most of the ornithology students, all the students that are interested in working in the lab and studying birds here, are environment and sustainability majors, and we call it ENS majors. And so, and also some students were like bold and ambitious to do the biological science major, but they ended up switching over to ENS because it was like, oh, the bio major is so hard. Like, why is it so hard? I just want to study birds. And so yeah, so I made that decision. And in this, like in the beginning of like some courses that I took as an ENS major, I started to learn more about like the introduction of like environment and like what sustainability means and just more of how much like an overlap of like environmental sciences and sustainability is in ornithology. 'Cause really the whole goal is to just take care of the environment, and like that's what we want to do with birds, right? We want to make sure that birds are around and that they're being taken care of. And so there's a lot of overlap, and I think it was a great fit overall. And just being a steward, I think that's a common theme and something that I've kind of fallen in love with, the idea of stewardship, taking care of the earth, taking care of birds, taking care of communities and even cultures. That's all important for the coexistence of people and the natural world and animals. And I think that ideal is what kind of wraps just being able to take care of every living thing.
Yeah, I like that. And I can understand. I mean, I got to come clean. I am a biology major with a master's degree in molecular biology.
Oh, wow.
So when you
yeah, Jason about that life.
Listen.
Wow,
But listen.
You were built for that. I was not.
Listen. When you talk about some of the challenging coursework, I get some little PTSD, some flashbacks. So before the episode, we were talking about how busy you are in your senior year, and so that's what I meant when I said I know. It gets a little wild, and you got all this knowledge stuffed in your head, and you're trying to figure out what am I going to do with it. But it's really inspiring to hear you finding your way, because we met you earlier in your college career, right? You were just as enthusiastic, just as energetic, just as joyful. But now you got a little bit more wisdom about where things are and what things can be, right? And that's I mean, it's really, really, really beautiful to see. And I understand you have a student design concentration in science communication and ornithology. Is that something that a lot of folks at your school exercise, like that student design concentration? And what made you decide on that? And what do you think you might want to do with it, coming out of school?
Yeah, so the student design was also one of the reasons why the ENS major became more popular than like bio and like other majors that's in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, because there's like so much flexibility, and like that's one of the great things that lets you be flexible. It's like you can design your own concentration. So basically like a concentration is whenever we establish our major, we have to, you can specify exactly what you're interested in studying and learning about through these concentrations. And there's like different ones. There's this one you can get into like environmental policy. There's like a environmental policy concentration. There's this one called eBay. It's like,
wait, eBay?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what
is it like selling bird feeders on the internet? Like
no, not like the shopping site. It's an acronym. It means like, honestly kind of forgot. It's like, I think it's business, like environmental business and something. So you can get into like economics. But I didn't really see one that like kind of fit, because even with those concentrations, it was similar to like being a biology major, because you still had to take 3 chemistry courses. You still had to do genetics. You did have to do statistics. And it's like, and calculus. It was like, what? Like, I don't want to take all of these unnecessary classes that I'm not going to enjoy. Like, I know I'm not going to be, maybe, like, I don't need to know how to calculate the velocity of water flowing through a dam. Like, I don't it was just like all of these things. And I did take a like environmental statistics class and physics and chemistry, and I was like, I don't want to take more of that. Like, that was like, I was like, you know what? Let me see like what other option is. And so I met with my academic advisor, and shout out to my academic advisor. His name is Dr. Irby Love. love it. And he is an
Shout
amazing
out.
researcher in ornithology. And he does it all. Like he does studies on the Galapagos with finches. He works with penguins, and I can go on and on about this man. But anyways, so when
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have like our weekly meetings, and so yeah, I was telling him, it was like, we have to choose our concentration. I don't even know what to do because I don't want to take these hard classes. Like, what else to do? And then he was like, have you heard about student design? I was like, no, I haven't. And so he showed me student design. So I took ornithology seminar, which is like a weekly like seminar you can take. And it's like bring all these different researchers in. It was super cool. And then ornithology like lecture, and it's like a class basically all about birds. And that's the
Yeah.
one that Professor Irby taught. And we also get like this free the Handbook of Ornithology textbook, which is awesome. It's from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and I use that like all the time. That's like my ornithology Bible, and I just like and it's pretty
What
cool.
was that? What was that? What was that first class called? You said it's called All About Birds.
Ornithology lecture.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
like a seminar, and it's basically in that class it's like a online, like half online but also in person, and like the online part it's offered on by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. Like anyone can sign up for it. I forgot the exact name of the program, but it's like just like a general ornithology.
That's
But
cool.
anyways, and then like
I was going to say, and it's something that's open to the public. I took I'm in the middle of taking a bird sketching course from Cornell Lab, which I am terrible at still.
yeah.
But, shout out to Cornell for that kind of stuff, because it does make things pretty accessible. And it's really interesting to hear that the students themselves can pop in and out of those as necessary, right, for things that they're interested in and bring them joy. That's really awesome. I didn't know that.
Shoot, when
Yeah.
you're talking about bird sketches, I don't know many people that are better at sketching birds than this guy we got on
I
the
was
call
gonna
right
say. I got some artwork here in my office from the homie.
Oh, really? Wait, really?
I
Where
do.
is it, behind you?
I do. No, it's not behind me. I'm gonna have to go get it here in a minute, but I'll show you before
Oh
we're done.
wow! I appreciate repping the
That's right.
bird art.
That's right, man.
Yes.
That's right.
If y'all have not seen it, you need to check out Ike's bird art. I know Jason will link it in the show notes for sure.
Yes,
Sure will.
on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. Ike, when I go to your Instagram, the first thing you see is explore, observe, and learn, right? And you label yourself as an adventure birder. One thing that stands out to me when you mention explore, as you're exploring, as you're observing, as you're learning, you're really good at sharing that with your audience along the way. Can you talk a little bit about why you think it's important for scientists to be able to effectively communicate environmental issues?
Yeah, so I really think it's very important, mainly to spread awareness and to, having the public know about environmental issues in order for solutions to be made and shared, and kind of getting the public in practice of like, oh, okay, we have this issue in our environment, and we may not know that it could be something that is like a product or a reaction of something that we're doing, and how can we fix this? How will we come up with solutions? So I think it's very important for coming up with solutions, especially when a lot of public opinions can influence and create amazing solutions to environmental issues. And then also, like, I know it's funny, I just took a science communication class, and just the whole importance of like communicating what your findings and conclusions that you make in your studies or in anything, that it's important to share that with the public, because for people to just care about it and to just generally just have a concern or interest about it. And then there's this great analogy that a professor said in the class. And in this class, this is also like one of the requirements I made for myself in my concentration. And it's like saying, if you can't explain something or effectively communicate a scientific finding or just any kind of conclusion to your grandmother, or, just someone that's close to you in your family, then like, why does it even matter? Like, who would care? Why would they want to know this information? So I think it's very important that the public should care and want to take care of the environment when they're known about these issues that scientists and researchers are like finding.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like a great example of that is like with window strikes in birds. That's like one of the leading causes of mortalities in migratory bird populations. We lose millions of birds every year just simple window strikes. And so it may not the public may not know about how it's an environmental hazard for migratory birds because it's you may like, oh well, I haven't seen a bird hit my window or haven't seen that anywhere, especially if you like live in more like rural areas or like not like
Sure.
major
Yeah.
cities. And I've also kind of seen this at my home as well, where like when the kind of first learning about like, oh, there's this issues with window strikes with birds, and was thinking like, oh, this is something that seems more prevalent in cities and like, tall buildings.
Yeah.
But then there was actually a brown thrasher that like hit one of my windows, and it was okay. At least from the like initially it was okay, and I was like, oh wow, even this window in my house, and this was a place where I thought like I would never expect that
Yeah.
a bird would
Yeah.
hit
It
my window. It
happens.
happened.
Yeah.
So
Happens
it's
all over.
yeah, I really think it's it's important for people to know about that issue, and for the conservation and of protection of
Yeah.
birds, and so yeah.
I always tell my students, I teach science communication,
Oh.
and I always tell my students, can you explain your research to somebody like they're a fourth grader?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I'm not saying that and I always tell them, you're not dumbing it down. You're just simply explaining it to a regular person. Why what you do matters to their life. Right?
Mhm.
They don't care about your research. They don't care about that white paper. They don't care about that data. What they care about is how all of those things that you do impact their life. And if you can explain that to them like a fourth grader, you are now moving the needle because now they understand the importance of your work. And ultimately, as a
Right.
scientist, and that's what I try to communicate to my colleagues, is if you cannot explain what you do at that level, then you're always going to have a communication problem. Then you're always going to
Right.
have a trust problem. So
Exactly,
when I
yes.
see
Yeah.
you, traveling the world and going to these places and you're birding and you're finding your joy, but in those moments, taking the time to explain what you're seeing to people at a basic joy level, you're not only educating them, right, on what you're learning in that moment, what you're observing in that moment, which is science, which is so powerful, man. And I can't tell you enough as a professor how many times when I watch what you do and I just smile ear to ear, like I'm this dude just gets it.
Yeah, I like literally, like I just encourage anyone, check out at Ike's Birding Hikes on Instagram. The homie's like hanging out with Galapagos tortoises and penguins, and in Colombia feeding hummingbirds, like
Right?
and he's educating you as he does it, right? He's taking you on the journey with him, right? And doing a damn good job at it. And I always laugh when people say, if you can't explain it to a fourth grader or a 5-year-old, you haven't quite perfected it yet. And I just got hit this morning. My son, we're on the way to pick some pumpkins, and he like looks across the seat and he goes, Dad, like, why are we human? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, like, like, why are we human? And I was like, damn.
Wow.
And I start trying to figure out how to like, but, in my head, I'm like, oh, I can go through evolution and natural selection and all these different forces in the environment and da. But he don't care. He wants an answer that makes sense to him, right? And like, whether it's grandma, fourth grader, or my son, right? Like it does take a particular skill set, right? And I appreciate, what Dexter said around making it impactful to the person's life, right? And that is, we all were sentient during COVID, right? And I've been working in vaccines for almost 20 years, and Lord have science communication was necessary, and it wasn't around in 2020, and it was wild, right? And so we can see the impact of misinformation when people aren't approached with respect, and they're not approached with some empathy that they may not know some of this background information, and people don't go explain it to them, right? So it's really cool, like, because I learned so much from you. Like anytime something comes across my timeline, if I see you standing to the left of the screen, You know, I know there's something on the right of the screen, and you're gonna explain it to me. You know, the I can't remember which bird it was, but maybe it was the penguin. But you're like floating in the water with like snorkel gear, and I'm like, this is crazy, man. This is so awesome. Like, it was so cool. Like, but like that's what we need today, because people try to pretend like social media is like this thing that's going to go away one day. Like, social media is here. This is where people do some of their learning, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So if you have in this new medium in the last 20 years, like if you have the ability to communicate well and transport those ideas into people's minds, like, man, I'm so excited for you, man. That sounds so awesome. You know, that you're going to be able to kind of go and do that for folks. And I know you're working real hard on that. Your senior year at Cornell, grinding. But maybe we can kind of shift a little bit and talk about not Ike the student, not Ike the science communicator, not Ike the social media mogul. Let's talk about Ike the birder. Ike the birder. How is it you're on what a lot of us would call is like the mecca of bird knowledge in the United States, at least? Really? Cornell University, right?
Yeah.
Do you sometimes like have to catch yourself and be like, man, I'm literally birding in a place that holds so much knowledge. Like, these homies got the keys to the eBird servers. Like, you ever just walk around, just kind of geek out, right? Do you feel like you're like on Mount Olympus walking amongst the gods as a god yourself? like how does that feel, man?
Yeah, it definitely feels, being here at school and going on my day-to-day schedule of classes and meetings. I sometimes do like, I know we're trying to do like get me in birder mode, but I'm like,
go ahead,
but
man.
just to talk about just the academic side, just one more last time. I just kind of sometimes it kind of just weighs me down a little bit, and just like, oh, you know, I have all these things going on, and you know, stress, and so. But then there's like some moments where I just remind myself, like, wait, but like literally 5 or like 6 years ago, like this was all just like a dream in my head, just like a idea that I didn't really think that was going to happen. And just looking back, like where I started, it's like, man, like I have a lot to be grateful for. And I have a lot of just amazing people just to like that have helped me get here. And just even with my page, Ike's Birding Hikes, all the followers and supporters and like all the birders like you guys that I've met, it's just like, man, like I just have a lot to be grateful for. And so that's kind of being a birder, being a black birder here, and even like especially like going to the lab and bird watching. Have y'all been to the lab of ornithology? No, like Sapsucker Woods?
I'm gonna go ahead and listen. If anybody from Cornell is listening,
through you,
but if Cornell is listening and they need us to come hang out with you up there,
we would do that.
Listen, hit us up.
No, we need to tag them. Tag them.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we'll tag them.
At Cornell Birds.
Look at Ike teaching us science communication in real time right now, you know?
Please, fly my brothers up here, please. Yeah, it's just, man, every time I go there, I'm just like, wow, like, I was here, like, man, wasn't really like 8 years ago, 8 or 9, I can't even count, but it was almost a decade ago. I was there as a middle schooler at the lab, and had, you know, that was my first moment where I started bird watching was there. And so always to go back and where I started, it's just like, yeah, just to think of, all I can just think of, like, it's just, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to be here. And yeah. And so with birding, I actually haven't been like birding with binoculars in like the past couple of weeks, but I need to get out and do some more birding, because sometimes like I don't want to take that for granted, like opportunities just to be a bird watcher here, not to be like a student here all the time and working. And even though it's fun, like sometimes my mind to try to learn all this bird knowledge, like sitting in a classroom and in these classes, like there's really nothing like going out to explore, just have adventures. Yeah, with my motto, explore, observe, and that's a really effective learning strategy. It was just the whole conclusion. It was like, what do you learn? And so
I know you and I have talked before around the birding group on campus that you're involved with, right? Like, I mean, that's got to be interesting trying to do that as still a recreational hobby, more or less, right? And do it with friends, of course, right? And continue to build that community, especially on campus. But you guys are all still trying to balance your workload, right? And that's something that's going to continue, obviously, after college into professional life, when you jobs and stuff and things you got to do. Have you had any, let's say, special moments of birding that you feel like when you think back on your time at Cornell, like just as a birder, where you're just like, man, I remember that day we saw so-and-so, or we went on this trip here and did that. Like, you have any of those moments that you reflect on now and are like really special to you?
Yes, special birding moments. All the times were like all like the rare bird chases I've been on up here, because that's what popular in the birding community here. I mean, I'm sure that's popular everywhere. It's like, oh, if there's a rare bird. But I think that kind of tops all of that. That's just very memorable. I think it was about 2 years ago. I remember it was like sophomore year. Yeah, the fall of my sophomore year. I actually led a bird watching hike on campus. It was at we have this place called BBU Lake, and it's like this really cool, like natural recreational area, and it has like a trail, and it's really beautiful. In the fall, and it's fall now, so like during this time, all the bright colors in the trees come out, and it's really nice. And yeah, I was there, and so I was actually just started to lead just like what we call BB bird walks, and it's just like on campus walks where anyone can come out. And so I even like posted on my on Ike's Birding Hikes, like trying to get people out, and because I really wanted to just get more, because I was, as then I'm now the chair of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So just trying to host more just inclusive like events and accessible events. So there it was. Anyways, at that event, a lot of people like came out. It was like probably like 30. It was like 25,
Wow.
like 30 people came, and this was like people that it wasn't even just students. It was like grad students and PhD students, and even just people that lived around the city here. It's called Ithaca. So people around Ithaca just came and just wanted to meet me and wanted to go bird watching. But it was like the most like largest and just like diverse group of people that I've been bird watching with here. And it was funny. It was also the only there. That was the first time where we actually had a black woman come to a bird watching hike, and that was just like I don't know, that was just like very memorable to me, because it's like there's so many audiences and groups of people that have not been represented in these events that we're hosting. And so that was like a moment where like, wow, we're creating this atmosphere that feels welcoming to more people. And that was just an amazing moment of just like, I want to keep doing more and creating more opportunities like this for people to come out and to go bird watching, and even also new birders, like people who never went bird watching before. I always enjoy when people who never done it get some of their first lifers and
Do you show them the lifer dances though? Did you? I mean,
I hope you're still doing lifer dances at Cornell.
A little bit. I mean,
he's like, listen, I got a social life here. I can't be dancing around in the quad,
I've seen most of the birds here, so it's like I haven't really danced in a while. I think the last lifer actually was, man, what was it? I think it was actually like a golden eagle. Last
Jason
year.
just talked about wanting to see one of those. This fall.
Killing me.
Yeah, they're so hard to find, right? Like I thought I would see one. So you haven't seen one at all, Jason, either?
I've seen them on the West Coast, but we have a migratory pathway that comes through the western side of Pennsylvania, and I think it's in Allegheny County. There's a hawk watch out there.
Yes,
and they get them. They like come through mid-November. I haven't had a chance to get out there, but occasionally we have them come, down through Philly too. Like, but not a lot.
Hmm.
But that's like one of the things that I kind of want to see in Philly or in Pennsylvania, right? So in mid-November, like I could drive a whole bunch of hours out to the Hawk Watch in Western Pennsylvania, but I also could just spend some time watching the skies in mid-November. So like the fact that you got to see that at school is like pretty dope, man. It's pretty dope. Cause like, the West Coast, I
Yeah.
feel like, okay, you got a golden eagle. Cool. Right. They kind of, there's a lot of them out there. They move pretty heavily. I feel
Hmm.
like you got to work for it on the East Coast. So it makes it extra special,
Yes. Right.
Hey Ike,
Yeah.
you were talking about how that event specifically, how you were able to bring all these people together of all walks of life, and I kind of see a very similar approach to your content on social media. When you put stuff out, you're putting it out for anybody, right? You could be a seasoned birder, brand new birder, somebody that's never birded before, somebody that's a little bit curious. You make content for all those people. Like, and that is not easy to do. My guess is you run your bird walks the same way. Is that you probably lead your bird walks in a very similar, engaging, and inclusive way. Is that your strategy on both? As you're leading bird walks, as you're creating content, are you just trying to get as many people to enjoy birds as possible?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to get just everybody, especially people that, like black and people of color, like
Mm,
to have more opportunities to go on these hikes and just to learn and have access to this knowledge and information. I think it's such a beautiful thing for us to know about our natural world and the birds and everything that lives around us. And that kind of just goes back to the whole stewardship. We learn how to take care and coexist, and so that's kind of end goal with that approach of like approaching everyone, because it shouldn't be just one group that has more advantage or that has more access.
mm.
It should be
I
very
love
very
that.
equitable. So yeah,
I love
Yeah.
that. And if
yeah.
there are, you said something that really stood out to me when we're talking about black men and people of color. Any advice
Mhm.
to other black men or black people or people of color in the world of science in general? Do you have any advice for birders or science communicators looking to create more meaningful and fun content of their own to help people learn?
One piece of advice is, I guess, know the value of the information that you're sharing, and
Mm.
how not even just that, but like your face and your presence, how that can be so attractive to people, because it's like, oh, I haven't seen like this, black science educator or this or a black scientist, and that representation is very needed, and people are looking for that. And so I guess don't be afraid to share any knowledge or what other people think, or if anyone thinks that it's, you're only doing this for whatever, to just be confident in what you want to communicate and your knowledge. And yeah.
That's like really interesting. You say like be confident, right? Because something I
Yeah.
talk about in various forums is this idea of imposter syndrome that some of us
Mm-hmm.
have as black and brown folks in different environments, right? And
Mm-hmm.
was that something you felt like you had to overcome, or you're still trying to overcome in certain situations just to have your own confidence in yourself? I mean, because 105 followers on Instagram seems pretty confident to me, but let's be real about it, right? Like, is it something that you still, are cognizant of yourself, just making sure that you have a deep breath and your chin up when you're going out to make this stuff?
Yeah, I think I've definitely like seen some improvement with that, and knowing that, I'm qualified,
You're damn right.
I'm able to just be a scientist and to be that well, especially like, I guess, with as a social media scientist, I feel like I've come to I guess did I just make that up, social media scientist? But
Hey, I like it. You might
I
want
like
to
it too.
trademark that joint. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead. Ike, the social media scientist.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and make that happen,
yeah, I know how to, talk about birds and information related to birds on the internet in some spaces, especially academic spaces, and it can feel intimidating. Like, am I able to do research? Am I qualified to be able to write papers or to do all of these very intense scientific things? Sometimes I have to encourage myself, like, yeah, I can do these. I was just in Costa Rica. I did a whole scientific research, did a data, come up with a question, data collection, made a presentation, and wrote a paper in the span of like 5 days. And that wasn't the only time where I've had experiences like that. Like I can do this. So I just like, sometimes it's tough, especially there'll be like some people like professors or other students who may think, or like you may think that they don't think that you're qualified. And usually that's just like you're making assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have to kind of identify. I was like, wait, is this really true, or am I just limiting myself? Like, oh, maybe I should just stick with being the black social media kid who just only talks about birds on the internet, not really important information that could be done on like papers or anything.
That's that imposter syndrome that Jason is talking about. Like,
exactly.
We get in our own heads, and it's crazy because even demeaning the power of the social media presence is a problem, because you're reaching so many more people with that message than a lot of traditional scientists ever would, and I think that's the game changer in saying, you know what, it's similar to what a lot of traditional marketers went through when social media first came around, where now their traditional marketing budgets for print and TV and stuff started shrinking, and all of a sudden now people are doing social media ads to reach these people. But the same is now true for the scientists now that you are, and this is what I teach my students, is meet your audience where they are, and you're meeting the audience where they are, and you're taking advantage of trends that come out, whether you're passing the mic and you're elevating other black scientists and people that are sharing their joy for birds and ornithology and science. And, it's beyond even just your platform. And what you've been able to do is you've elevated a lot of us, and you've been showing people, hey, it's not just me. Look at all the homies all over the world that I'm passing the mic to that are doing amazing things too. And I don't even know if you really notice that you're doing it, but you're showing your audience not only what you do and what you observe and what you're learning, but what so many of the homies all over the world are doing too. And I just want you to know, man, that is powerful and it's meaningful. And I want you to just remember that this is important. We say it all the time, right? If you see it, you can be it. And people are seeing a young black man like you really, really changing the game in a field that has not been, how can I say this kindly, as welcoming to our people as it could be.
Yeah, for sure. And, I thought a couple of things were interesting, right? Like, one, the fact that the bird outing you had was, as far as you all can tell, that was the first time that a black woman tended a bird walk at Cornell, right? Like, that's kind of wild, right? And it tells people that even in the academic mecca of ornithology, there is still room to grow. There's still room to learn. There's still room to bring this to other folks. Because, Cornell has obviously a ton of other amazing academic programs outside of ornithology, right? So, like, you're able to influence those folks, right? And then the second thing is, like, people are kind of forgetting, like, you talked about seeing a golden eagle, right? Now, you could... we could send people to Google Scholar to go read these really dense papers about golden eagles, right? Or their on-ramp to go get there, their on-ramp to even dream about doing it could be a reel that they saw from Ike's Birding Hikes, where they're like, oh, that's crazy. What is this field of ornithology? I've never heard of a golden eagle, right? There's probably some middle schooler out there somewhere that is exactly you from 9 or 10 years ago. I don't think a lot of people are talking about that. A lot of people, I think, kind of retreat back into this way we've done things in the past in terms of exploring the world, like I said before. So, like, I think you're providing a tremendous service to people to be able to translate that information. We haven't talked about it as much right now, but like the joy too, right? Like the joy of learning, the joy of finding connection with nature, particularly the birds. And like, I'm going to make you use your imagination here, Ike. All right. I'm going to make you, we in the time machine. All right.
Oh.
We just put in a Snoop Dogg album. We're about to go on a little journey. We're vibing and we're going 25 years into the future. Okay.
Wow.
What is Ike doing? Where's Ike finding some joy? I know you are deep in the weeds of academic excellence right now, but just let your brain float up out of that for a minute And what, when you think about that period in your life, like assuming family's healthy, you're healthy, the world is still intact generally, right? Like, like, what do you imagine that you would be doing? And I'm sure it's something joyful. And just like, talk to us about where you see that going.
Wait, why Snoop Dogg?
Because if I'm going on a road trip, I need the dog pound.
Why Snoop Dogg?
I need the dog pound. There's,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, like and notice I said, I was about to say, we slide in a Snoop CD, right? But I might be too old now. CDs, nobody uses those anymore, so I needed to get it together. So I just said we put on the Snoop album.
I think
we can put on
the Snoop reference made you old. That's what I was basically saying right now.
Probably. I mean, yeah. Listen. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, he was my Kendrick Lamar. So you guys do what you got to do with that. All right.
Oh, okay. I mean, hey, Kendrick works. I mean, I'm cool with
Kendrick works too.
25 years from now. Wow, that is such a long time. I haven't even been alive for 25 years.
I know, that's why I hit you with it. That's just
hopefully I would have graduated from here by now. And then I see myself as a successful science communicator and bird watcher and traveling the world. I do want to travel a lot. I think by then I would like to been at least on all the continents. Maybe. And then also just back to more like being like a birder. Would see most, not I guess, would it be most? I guess over a quarter of all the bird genera. That's what I'm like. Okay, that's like another side thing. But I'm like,
talk about it.
I had a goal of like wanting to see all the bird species in the world. That's
why not?
very, very ambitious. Why not? Right? Like,
yeah, why
that's
not?
what I thought. But like, there's probably some birds I'm just probably not gonna see. There's a lot of inaccessible places in the world. So at least to the genera, the genus level, because it's like, okay, that's like at least I could potentially see every type of bird. So and it's less. There's like, I think there's like only like 4,000 genera of birds, which is I think like that's doable. So anyways, that's like a goal to see that. And then
manifest.
Yes, that's right. Praying for it. And then also I really would love to have my goal. I would love to have a TV show. I see myself having a TV show or like a series of some sort. I don't know like how or what. Maybe Nat Geo or Discovery or
Book it.
Maybe Animal Planet. I don't know. Who knows?
Book it.
Yeah. Tagging them too.
We're tagging them too, Ike.
Yeah, yes. Like all of them. Yes. And then maybe I would love to even get into like maybe some cool documentaries about birds.
Are you still looking at some point, trying to raise some money and like purchase some land?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of amazing support so far for that project and still trying to get a nonprofit and everything going for it. And so I may need some help and
there we go.
Understandable.
Talk about that is big picture though, right? Having your own nature preserve, sitting outside and, doing your own drawings of birds that are on your preserve, and bro, I could just see it, like you could be doing that and bringing people to that preserve and leading walks on this land, and that's the life, man. Like I think ultimately being a birder full time would be pretty amazing, wouldn't it?
Yes, yeah, I think you really can't go wrong with just being a bird watcher and sharing all the birds you're seeing with other people all day. Like I think that's definitely something I want to interested in of like when I used to actually lead hikes, when I first started Ike's birding hikes, I was always having to, go onto some property that was already owned by someone and get permission and that sort of thing. But if you have your own own nature preserve, and not only that you can be able to host people and have people come, but you can have an area where you can manage and actually improve the land for natural habitat for birds and not only just that but for other animals and even like just be able to support bird populations, like creating nesting habitats and that sort of thing. Like that would just be wonderful. I would love to have nature preserves all over the world, even
That's
somehow.
cool.
I'm
That's
gonna
cool.
speak that into existence, but I'd love to. And
Just a whole network of Isaiah Scott nature preserves.
Man, that is
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Beautiful. I want to thank you. We've talked about a lot today. First of all, I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for sharing your joy for birding and the birding community with everybody. You've got some amazing things going on. You're always working. You're collaborating with brands. I just saw you just did one with what's the
Everyman Jack.
Everyman Jack.
Yes.
You got LL Bean and Knox and all these
Ford.
Ford. I just where else, obviously Ike's Bird and Hikes is where you're sharing most of your stuff on IG. You're also on TikTok as well, right?
Yes, I have a TikTok. It is still growing, but I just need to do more posting on TikTok. But I am on TikTok, and I have a YouTube. It's just Ike's Burning Hikes. I need to post some videos on YouTube, which will be coming soon if I can edit some videos together
Yeah.
Sure.
and upload. I still have a lot of stuff, like video from the Galapagos, I was just in Costa Rica over the summer, documenting my whole experience there. I was there for a month. So yeah, I have a lot to share still, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, make sure y'all following Ike on IG, on TikTok, checking out his YouTube. I want to thank everybody for joining us today on the Bird Joy podcast. We hope you enjoyed exploring the world of birding with us and Ike from Ike's Birding Hikes. Shout out to the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin, all the homies in the flock. Check out BIPOCbirdingclub.org for all the amazing things that we got going on.
All right, and until next time, our bird nerd homies, shout out to In Color Birding here in Philly, incolorbirding.org. See y'all soon.
See y'all soon.
Thanks, Jason. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Keep being great, brother. And thank you for stopping by.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.